So how would you like to win the lottery? All you need to do is put some crosses on a bit of paper, enter your ticket into the draw, and when the draw is made, you can celebrate your ticket winning millions of pounds, you're never having to work again, and you can spend the rest of your life on your yacht cruising around the Caribbean without a care in the world. So it may sound completely far-fetched, but in fact this was what I set out to do and achieved a few years ago, minus the yacht in the Caribbean. However, there are many lessons to be learnt from what I did, how I did it, and how that applies to sports betting markets. So when you mention the word Liverpool, it conjures up many images. Famous football clubs, Aintree Racecourse, the Beatles, the River Mersey. There are many things that the word Liverpool conjures up in your mind. But for me, the most significant place is this building, and that is because it had a significant impact on my life and shaped a lot of the work that I've done subsequently. So let's explore why this building is of so much significance to me. So the building that you can see here is a famous landmark in Liverpool. It's the Littlewoods building. The Littlewoods company was once the biggest private company in Europe, and it had two divisions. It had a retail division, but the one that we're most interested in is the sports betting division. And the sports betting division was known primarily because it was the Littlewoods pools. So hold on a second, why are we talking about the football pools? Aren't we supposed to be talking about how to win the lottery? Well, the interesting thing about the UK is that in 1826 lotteries were banned. They remained illegal for 150 years thereafter, and it was not until 1994 that the National Lottery began.
Now live and exclusive coverage of the very first draw in Britain's new National Lottery.
The first state lottery was created in 1567 to raise money for public works, and in fact famous landmarks around London like Westminster Bridge and the British Museum were funded by lotteries. But for a long length of time you couldn't enter a lottery, and the only way that you could win serious amounts of money was to enter the football pools.
Those who ended up quids in were 7 locals from Bermondsey's Hand and Marigold, a shy retiring group. For a stake of £1.70 each, they've now got £64,000 apiece, a total of nearly £500,000.
So what was the difference between the football pools and the lottery? Well, in effect, there was no difference. The football pools was invented as a way to get around the legislation that banned lotteries. On a lottery, you would pick 6 or more numbers from around 50 that were potentially available that could be drawn. And in the football pools, you would get around 50 or so matches, and you would have to pick 8 of those that ended in a score draw in order to be able to win the jackpot. There were 2 very similar ways of working, but one was just had a slightly different angle on it in order to get around the legislation. But in effect, the football pools was actually a lottery. However, there was one key difference.
Can you tell us how you fill in your football coupons?
Yes, I get the league table and the form of the teams and see how they've been getting on in recent matches. And if a team playing at home is low in the league and playing a team that's high in the league, I generally give that as a draw.
So this tells you the first part of a 2-part process that I used to win this particular lottery. I would go into each coupon and I would actually predict the chance of each match ending in a draw, because then I could actually select matches that were more likely to be draws and make those on my entry. Now compare that to a lottery where balls are generally drawn at random. There is no influence that you have on how those balls are going to be drawn, so you can't particularly influence it. But when we were looking at the football pools, it was actually possible to predict which matches were more likely to end in a draw. If you're interested in knowing how I did that, I have actually produced videos at great length about the process of predicting football matches, and you should watch those videos if you're interested in understanding how you would predict a draw. So one of the things that you could do on the football pools that you couldn't do in the lottery is you could actually enter a number of selections. Instead of just having to pick 8 draws, you could actually pick any 8 from 10, or any 8 from 12, or any 8 from 15. But it did mean that you would have to enter a large number of lines. However, the cost of entering on the football pools was much, much lower than the lottery, so this was perfectly viable. However, even that wouldn't be able to achieve a payoff, So I had to come up with what we would call an optimal covering combination. And the way that you would do that on the football pools is you would actually write it on the coupon, you would get that approved by the pools company, and then if they approved your covering combination, then you could actually enter your selections and give them instructions as to how to interpret them. And this was the key thing for me to be able to win on the football pools. I entered matches that were more likely to be drawn. If the coupons didn't have enough matches on it or the wrong type of selections, I would place no bet. But if I did place a bet, I would use an optimal covering combination, and that optimal covering combination would dramatically increase my chances of winning the jackpot. So to summarise here, before 1994 there was no national lottery in the UK. The only way that you could put a small amount of money down to win an absolute fortune was to be able to do that on the football pools, which essentially was a lottery. It worked in exactly the same way as a lottery, apart from what you were doing instead was actually picking football matches that were likely to end in a draw. Now the benefit of that was that I was able to predict which matches were more likely to end in a draw. And then I used an optimal covering combination to be able to line them up so that I could actually win a jackpot. Did I win a jackpot? Yes, I did. And in fact, I actually won hundreds of dividends, although most of them were minor, to be honest. However, that enabled me to line up all of the matches on the coupon in such a way that eventually it was likely that I was going to win a much larger amount, which is exactly what happened. When the national lottery came along, unfortunately though, that completely destroyed the football pools. So all of my fun and games on the football pools were pretty much over. However, I was able to use optimal covering combinations to place bets with bookmakers, and that's what eventually got me banned with bookmakers. And I did actually come up with optimal covering combinations for the lottery as well. And there are other applications for optimal covering in traditional betting. So if you'd like me to talk to you specifically about optimal covering combinations, it requires really another video. So if you want to understand that particular concept, then please like and comment, and I'll happily produce a video on it for you. Anyhow, that's the story of how I won the lottery, or as we knew it traditionally before 1994 in the UK, the football pools.